I want to bring in retired Air Force Brigadier General and Newsmax contributor Blaine Holt. Blaine, good morning to you. If you, and like everyone else, were waking up to this information of these massive strikes, get your first reaction to obviously what's going on, which the president called major, massive. He used the word war, and it's also very clear these are decapitation strikes.
It is. And, you know, we saw all these hordes running throughout the week getting to this place. You can never be 100% sure of what the timing of one of these things is going to be like, but the market's closed. So you want the weekend to lessen the instability to what's going to happen financially in this world. And then you had luminescence, meaning the moon. And the lighting of the moon was perfect for night vision goggle work and aerial operations. And then third, you had a recalcitrant regime which said, under no circumstances are we giving up this program or our missiles. So that checks all three boxes. And while we could have seen a massive deception and something else to get the regime out of there, now it's very clear. There is no way that this ends with the regime intact at the end of this thing. This is going to go to its logical conclusion. I would only say that war has second and third order effects, and there is no way to understand what is going to happen in the days ahead. So we have to stay resilient. We got to stay resilient here at home with terror groups potentially being activated. War is not without risk, and so we pray for the soldiers and the sailors and the airmen and the Marines, but we also need to stay resilient here at home.
Blaine, you were a former pilot, and what do you make of going in broad daylight? Obviously, stealth fighters can't be seen by radar, but they can be seen by the naked eye.
Yeah. So, would you expect all of our major attack in the daytime? No, you might loosen up a little bit, and you might get a little bit relaxed. And the reason the night vision goggle information is so important is because before you hit one thing, there's a lot of preparation steps in an air campaign. There's a lot of things flying before you're going to actually throw a bomb at somebody. And so what we have done now is we're blinding them. We're taking out command and control systems. We're moving in on aerial defense systems. We're protecting all of our assets by getting launchers to the best extent we can. They fired a barrage that was really quite something in the early morning of this. So we'll just have to see where it goes from here. But a desperate regime that has no way out does desperate things. So you know, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, Fred, what do you make of the Western response that we have seen thus far from the EU, the United Kingdom, Australia, the way that they have responded to this? What do you make of that?
The response, what I'm hearing, is similar to what we saw in June, that these states didn't want to join us, and they're going to wish that it was done through the UN. They're going to complain it was not. They're going to complain it was a violation of international law, but they're not going to object too much because they know that this is a regime that's been destabilizing the world. You know, Iran was sending assassination teams through Europe to kill dissidents, and the European governments did nothing about it. So I think at the end of the day, if this is successful, we may not get open statements by most European nations thanking the U.S. and Israel for this, but privately they will be doing that.
Yeah, we also haven't really heard much statement as well from the axis of resistance that really plagues that entire region as well. Iranian proxies yet to really come out and say whether or not they're going to support Iran and join this war. Jonathan, what do you expect to happen there? Do you think we will hear from Hezbollah? Do you think that they will come in of support of Iran?
Yeah, that's a very, very important question. So far, what we've heard is the democratically elected Prime Minister of Lebanon warning Hezbollah in Lebanon not to drag Lebanon into a war at the behest of a foreign power, i.e. Iran, and staying out of it. And one could hope that Hezbollah would listen to it. So far, they have neither said nor done anything in the opposite. However, Iranian proxy forces in Iraq, they just issued a statement that they are going to join in the fighting and they will be firing at American targets. And the Houthis in Yemen, another Iranian proxy, have said or indicated that they're going to fire at maritime targets and also return to firing towards Israel. So it's kind of a mixed bag. The most important, most of the firepower is Hezbollah. And if they join in, I think the consequences for the region, but specifically Israel and Lebanon, could be quite serious. And one would hope that Hezbollah would be wise enough to stay out and understand that it would be a losing battle for them to join in. Israel is prepared for that. We have a lot of air defenses and a lot of troops that are positioned in northern Israel, focusing and ready. These are different tiers, different levels of our air defense against Iranian ballistic missiles. It's mostly the Arrow and Patriot interceptors. Here it is Iron Dome and the David Sling. So Israel technically can deal with both of these fronts simultaneously, even though Israel would prefer not to. So let's hope that the Iranian proxies will stay out of it for the benefit of Lebanon, of Iraq, and Yemen, and do the smarter thing here.
Yeah, Blaine, to that larger point, and I know I've seen a lot of reporting about the historic nature of this attack, but also the historic use of military assets. And the Gerald R. Ford, the carrier group, the most powerful modern carrier on the planet, not being sent to the front lines, being stationed off the coast of Israel to protect Israel while the Abraham Lincoln is sitting there launching the attacks. They said that's not something that's been done since World War II when you do a defensive carrier position.
Well, both are very comparable. Both are very comparable assets. And thanks. Both are very comparable assets. And the reason that the Ford is there is because the array of technology that it has on board to aid with missile defense, to help Israel through that and the region through that, makes much more sense to have that asset there. The Abraham Lincoln is right now in position as, well, they've got to defend the fleet. All of those ships do. But they're there as an offensive weapon as well, and they're going to be continuing round-the-clock strikes in what is not just a naval campaign. This is a joint and combined and integrated campaign with Israel. So this is orchestrated, many moving parts, but we do this so well. It's done beautifully from our Air Operations Center, and they're all working together. So the whole net is up and alive, 24/7, strikes available. But to the extent that we're decisive is what's going to determine whether the proxies want to be in the fight or not in the fight. If their life support system's cut off, very likely they're not going to be in the fight.
Yeah, Fred, I'll bring you back into the conversation as we continue to talk about the reaction and the response that we are seeing from other countries around the world. We are now seeing, there you go, that response there from Russia as well, from former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, saying the peacemaker once again showed his face. All negotiations with Iran are a cover operation. No one doubted it. No one really wanted to negotiate anything. Fred, your reaction to that?
I guess that's not a surprise. And remember, there's only a couple of countries that have been providing weapons to Russia for the war in Ukraine, Iran and North Korea. This is really a bunch of rogue states. But looks like rogue states don't stick that closely together. After the attacks last June, Russia and China didn't do much to stand with Iran. They complained about it. But Russia and China had opportunities to send substantial weapons to Iran over the last few months. They didn't do it because they don't want to get involved either. Let me mention one other thing. That's the Strait of Hormuz, which I think the U.S. is very determined to make sure that Iran does not block it. There's been heavy attacks on the Iranian Navy to sink it, so they cannot destroy or block this crucial naval passage. Also, there are large numbers of missiles, including anti-ship cruise missiles along the coast near the Strait of Hormuz. I'm sure they are a major focus of this operation because this strait is crucial to global commerce and to movement of oil.
Yeah, Jonathan, I'll just bring you into the conversation as well, if you could just follow on from Fred's comments there.
Yeah, I think, what we're seeing here is unprecedented levels of intel, planning, and coordination by U.S. and Israeli naval and mostly air forces. So far, it appears as if the BDA is positive. And, eventually, I think it will boil down. It'll be a contest between the Iranian capacity to fire missiles from mostly Western Iran versus the joint U.S.-Israeli capacity to strike down missile launchers and launch sites before or slightly after they are used. So far, looking at the amount of missiles that the Iranian regime has been able to fire, they are not doing well. And U.S. and Israeli countermeasures against ballistic missiles appear to be working. It's still very early in proceedings, and we'll have to be patient and, of course, vigilant. But I was expecting hundreds of Iranian missiles to be fired at Israel by now, based also on the lessons that the Iranians learned during the 12 days of war in June 2025. They know that Israel and the US will be hunting missile launchers, and they know that they will have a relatively limited window of opportunity to do damage in the region. So far, they haven't been successful in doing so, and I'm, of course, very thankful for that being the reality.
Yeah, Blaine, here real quickly, I wanted to ask you about this. So in the president's message that he put on social media about 2:30 this morning, just minutes after the launch, he actually said a couple of things that really struck me as unique for him. He warned the U.S. that we may experience some casualties, and he also used the word war. As someone who wore the uniform, what does that mean to you?
It means he's taken that step. He's going to the end game here, and there's nothing that's going to stop us from getting to this place called victory. And what he's warning us about is you have to understand this isn't just some limited conflict, low intensity conflict. We're all in on this thing, and he's getting America prepared for that should we experience a setback in this thing. But I also think that his remarks at the very end of his speech are very telling about what victory looks like. He encouraged the Iranian people themselves to stand up. You'll never get a better time than this. This is your moment. We won't hijack your revolution. We're not going to pick your leader for you, but you need to get in this fight right now because we're opening up a door for you. And at the same time, we should be prepared to protect ourselves here at home in the United States.
Yeah, Blaine, you were there. You served. The last time we did regime change in the Middle East, it didn't really work out very well for us. Do you see this going differently?
I do see it going differently because I don't sense that we're about to send 150,000 forces for 15 years into Iran. I also don't sense that we're going to break things to the extent that we leave this a third world decimated country. I think we need Iran in the world community, and minus its regime, we can all welcome the Iranian people back into a world of freedom and prosperity. And I think that benefits Israel handsomely.
Yeah, around 90,000 people who once experienced freedom and prosperity, and we hope will receive it again.
Yep, and the president was telling apparently the Washington Post this morning that all he wants to see is peace.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.